Mm.
I'm gonna go to join the video call.
I'm just trying to I'm just trying to rename myself, but it
And I do.
all right. 17 people are in the waiting room so far. So
Okay, and I see that you've joined and it's working. Okay.
I think we're good.
Oh my gosh, have such a great time. Please record and announce all the things.
Announce all the things.
And go until 5:45.
RYTT wintering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last time. Here it is. Here it is, folks. And you're gonna hit record, right?
It's already recording.
Okay, great.
Oh, whoops. That means we have to edit it.
I know. Okay.
Okay.
I can't join. Have so much fun.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Camera's on. Love it. Hi, Kathy and Marley, Cara, Allison. It's going to take me a moment just letting people in, and then we will begin. This is a great moment. I'll remind again, but get any props you want to use. If you don't have a bolster, it would be a good time to find a bolster supplement. If that's a couple blankets or a cushion from your couch. Also socks, eye covers, if you want to adjust the lighting, if you want to light a candle. These are all good ideas as we're getting settled as a group. Basha and Irene, hello. I'm excited to see you again in January. So those of you who are just joining, again, if you want to grab a bolster or something that you would use, bolster supplement, socks, eye cover, extra blankets, make sure we're gonna move, we're gonna chat, we're gonna move. And then we're also gonna be still. We're gonna be resting too. So get a little bit of all of it. Yeah, a lot of familiar names. Hi, everybody. All right, I think things have slowed down on the entrance. So All right. So for those of you I don't know, this is the extension of seasonal sangha, we call it. I'm Abby Paloma, and I do these seasonal classes at the solstice and the equinox. But also sometimes we do longer form seasonal sangha. Sangha is another word for community, where we kind of dive deeper into the seasons. But a lot of people, a lot of you are brand new, but a lot of you have been part of those longer form seasonal classes. So it's this really nice. I was thinking today that sometimes when we're on Zoom, it's, we kind of wish we were in person, but we make do. But honestly, for the solstice for today, I was like, I actually want everyone to just be at home. That's perfect. This is the perfect energy. And this is a great use of Zoom. So we can all have this shared experience in class, from the comfort of where we are. If you're not at home, but somewhere cozy and inside without leaving. Um, so we're going to chat a little bit about the solstice and content in context with kind of Chinese medicine and the energy of now, and then we'll get into our practice. But I know, we're a larger group, but I always love questions. So if you feel like you have a question, feel free to ask question. I prefer, you can just unmute and ask if versus the chat. It makes us feel like we're actually in the same room together. But yeah, here we go. So the a lot of people, I feel like it's getting more common. We talk about the solstice and the equinox, but it's really like this. It's a still point. It's like it's a still point in time because we're transitioning actually from this winding inward. Days have been getting shorter, 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 shorter. So when we're at the zenith of that shortening of days, and the it's this kind of marking in time before we won't feel spring for several months, but actually days are only going to get longer from here. So it's kind of this both death and rebirth moment at the same time. Um, and it's the complement to the summer solstice, which is in June, which is the longest day and the shortest night. And something I really wanted to focus on in talking about it is a lot of times we think of things have like are opposites, so summer and winter are opposites rather than complements. And a lot of times I'm not going to give a whole hexagram lesson today, but sometimes if you know what the hexagrams are, you don't, the short bite size is it's a kind of pictographic relationship between yin and yang. A lot of them are talked about in a book called the I Ching, but they're used in other ways. And so the hexagram of this time is called kun, which is all yin lines. It's made up of 6 yin lines. And another word for it is called the receptive. And one thing that the I Ching, when it talks about is that the receptive is not an opposite to the all yang, it's a complement. And I think that that's an important distinction, that it's not that we need more. Yes, we need more yin time in our culture, but thinking of them as complementing kind of yang. And this is the yin time to cultivate stillness, to cultivate inwardness, receptivity, to actually better utilize what would be called the all yang, would be the creative or more of that spirit or that energy. So another word that or just some differentiations is like, we talk about the the yin would be nature versus yang, which would be spirit, or earth, which is yin, versus yang, which is heaven, or space, which is yin, versus yang, which is time. And we're, like I said, we're at the zenith of this yin inward time. And what, for a health perspective, the outward energy is asking us to find stillness. And it's not just any old stillness, it's not numbing out stillness, but a stillness and an awareness to really just sit with ourselves as they are. Um, And so that's my intentions for our practice, is that we're going to be moving, but we're moving with an awareness that we're preparing for stillness. We're preparing for this inward journey of some people kind of believe like today's marking the beginning of winter. And, we'll come out of winter at the spring equinox. So we're prepping for this long standing stillness that we're going for. And another translation for this moment of time of the solstice and this this all yin energy is it's devotion, the devotional nature of earth. And the way I was thinking about that or teaching about that is by stilling down, by letting yourself be still, it's a form of trust. It's a form of the most primal experience of winter is, will we survive the winter? Will there be a spring? Will the sun return? Will the day rise again? And the emotion in Chinese medicine is, we talk about fear being stored in the kidneys. That's the organ of the season of winter, of water, and the emotion of fear. But it's this very primal fear of like, will I survive? Will my people survive? And the virtue of our work in winter is moving from the primal emotion of fear into wisdom. And that wisdom is cultivated in trusting that the dark will birth light. And we can sit in the darkness and the spring will come. That's a lot of words. And I hope it inspires you in some ways to give yourself permission to not resist the stillness and the darkness of the season, to not try to distract yourself from the inward direction. Huh. All right. Well, we will move on into practice. If there's not any questions, comments. Okay. So we're going to start lying down with our bolsters horizontal on our mats. And I'm going to show that setup just in a moment here. And then it would be great, you can use a block or a blanket for underneath your head. I'm just going to grab a blanket here. So we're going to do a side bend. You're going to start with your left side down, right side up. And again, if it's stacks of blankets or rolls of blankets to make this bolster-like creation, you're going to lay your side over the bolster and bring some support underneath the head. Let the shoulder be on the ground. And then here you have some options with this arm. You might want to stretch the arm overhead, kind of lay the elbow on the head here. Might feel better just to keep the arm relaxed by your side. So you have options. Might even, if you want, you can put this hand up on not a bolster, a block if you want to. But sometimes just bending the elbow, letting the continuation of this side bend happen. It's quite lovely. So you can take a first couple breaths to really feel the elongation from the pelvis to the armpit. Take some deeper breaths into that side body. Maybe even reach out with the fingertips, with the arm, just for a couple breaths to exaggerate that. And then begin to settle from reaching and just rest with the arm as it is. So this is a wonderful posture to start to open the diaphragm and the side body and get into your breathing. And also, we all could have different starting points. You could have had a pretty relaxing day, and the stillness feels like it's coming easily to you. You could have had a day where you're running around, or at least maybe not externally running around, but your mind has been running around. So meet yourself with gentleness, however you're arriving. If you're feeling sleepy or if you're feeling more wound up, being curious about how you are rather than judgmental of where you think you should be. Creating an internal landscape that all is welcome. Posture. We'll start very, very gentle movement of literally just kind of rocking side to side with the upper body. So as you lean behind you, it becomes more of a twist. And then as you roll almost onto your belly, it becomes a different type of twist. Feeling like you're opening through all the fibers of the side waist, of the psoas. Noticing how that affects your breath. Just breathing however the breath wants to arrive. And then the next time you kind of roll the belly down, almost like you're going to roll onto your belly, extend that top arm, the right arm, out on a diagonal from the tip of the nose. And then the opposite direction will move the right leg. So the right arm is moving in front of you, the right leg is moving behind you. And now you're almost stretching yourself apart on this diagonal. even though you're rolling forward with the upper body, can you still send the breath back low and wide into the back lower ribs, almost feeling like you can dome the back lower ribs out behind you. Like if I had my hands on your back, I'd ask you to breathe into the back lower ribs. And then wind the right leg back. Walk the right hand in front of the face. Start to press yourself up. I wasn't even doing it as long as you, and I feel a very big difference side to side. You can just observe that. And then we'll go to the other side. You can just roll over. I'm resetting up just so I can keep facing you. So again here, the bolster will go mostly under the waist. So the right arm will go down on the ground, prop underneath your head. Legs are stacked. You should feel this nice stretching through the waist. And then you can kind of play with maybe this side if you want a different arm position, but there's several options. The arm extended, the elbow bent, maybe arm just by your side. Obviously, arm down by your side is kind of the least intrusive here. Arm extended is the most active. And you might even just for the first couple of breaths feel into that extension, that side bend, and then settle into a more middle path arrangement with the arm. And after a couple breaths of stretching, feeling the length from the armpit to the waist to the top of the hip, and then you can rest the arm and rest the breath. And there's in celebrating the darkness, there's a lot of sacred texts talk about the fertility in the darkness, the mysteriousness, this moment of death and rebirth that is in one. So in the darkness, in the shortest day, is when the seeds of spring is planted. And I like to speak a lot in metaphors of the land and of earth and nature, but we all have our inner seasons too. You know, what is the spring of your life right now? Or what is the winter of your personal life right now? Winter often corresponds to places of being in the unknown, deep contemplation, devotion, trust. As we did on the other side, we'll just start to rock very gently the upper body. So rolling the navel towards the bolster, rolling back into more of a traditional twist, forward and back, feeling like you're kind of massaging the muscle fibers of the obliques, of the abdominals, of the psoas, feeling the attachments of the rib heads into the spine. And then the next time that you roll towards the navel, extend the left arm like a diagonal from the tip of the nose. And then move the left leg back away from that. So stretching behind you. So your whole body is creating this diagonal stretch from fingertips to toe tips. Wind the body back up. And press into your hands. And you can move your props off the mat for now. We're going to come sit on our shins. Those of you who study with me regularly, I love starting or teaching this position because our feet do not get enough attention in this position. It's a nice way to stretch the top of the ankles and the feet. But here we can actually rock our weight forward, almost like you're coming to a child's pose. Rock your weight back into a quad stretch. And just patting the floor with the hands as you move forward and back. And for those of you who want to get a little more adventurous, you might even lift the tops of the knees up, really stretch the top of the toes. You can get a little rhythmic. If that feels too much in the knees, by all means, just stick with the knees down. Then you can come all the way up to the top of the toes. And then from this position, it depends how your mat's oriented. This is something I've been playing a lot around with, is an active dynamic hip opener. But we're kind of going to make a figure 4, two right angles. So my front leg, it doesn't matter which leg, we're gonna just alternate, is making kind of this figure 4 right angle, my back leg. And now I'm gonna use my whole body to press myself up, and now I'm shifting my shins and then slowly sitting back down. And pressing down, up, shifting my shins and coming back. So really, the arrangement is kind of going like a 180, if that, maybe even more, just 90 degrees. Yeah, 90 degrees is correct. Pressing down and coming up. And you can challenge yourself, again, we're not using hands, but to feel the swiveling of the thigh bones, lowering yourself slowly as you move. Just do a couple more reps. I find that this feels a nice challenge. I guess, yeah, if you're wearing shorts and you're on a sticky mat, it might be hard for that glide, but if you can glide the legs. And of course, if you need to use your hands, use your hands. Yeah, I love watching you guys doing this, though. Really nice. Okay, and from there, we'll actually come into downward facing dog. In down dog, I want you to start rocking out your head. Sometimes I give the instruction like almost like you were an earthworm and you were digging through the soil. You start undulating through the spine and the head and neck, and then just shaking out through the head, shaking out through the jaw, letting out through the mouth and the tongue. And then we're going to start walking the hands back to the feet while we're shaking the heads, but we're going like at a diagonal. So I'm shifting my hips to the right as my left hand comes back, shift my hips to the left as my right hand comes back, bobbing, shaking the head, shifting, shifting, shifting. When you get over the legs, shaking, 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 and then we're going to do that same shifting. So I'm going to kind of step my right hand forward, swivel my feet and hips to the left. Step my left hand forward, swivel to the right. Really kind of focusing on this contralateral action. Coming back to down dog, and then again, swiveling the hips and the feet and the knees, one hand slides back. Other way, other way, other way. Until you hanging over the legs. And then reverse that. Reverse, reverse. Go for it a couple more times. Back and forward. And let it just be as natural and intuitive as possible. Don't overthink it. Don't kind of like, oh, I'm doing it right. Or it's not like Twister. It's not like right hand red. It's just trying to get rhythmic here. Yeah, beautiful, Kelsey. Nice. All right, and then the next time that you end up in down dog, stay there for a couple breaths. Keep the knees bent. Dig your feet into the mud there. Find that earth element. See, sweaters are coming off, so I guess we're getting some heat building. Let gravity take hold of the curves of the spine. So you don't have to do anything with the spine. Just let your spine be suspended. Anchor yourself with your hands and your feet. Let your body breathe exactly how it wants to. And then this time we'll walk the feet back to the hands one more time into a forward fold. And slowly start to roll up to stand. Just find stillness for a moment. Again, that's what we're practicing in your standing posture. How often do you just stand? Do an exercise. It's called a spinal pull, or at least that's what I call it. And if you're familiar, it's not a sun salutation, but the biggest thing that we're similar, but we're focusing actually on engaging the strength of the legs. And this is a really great winter exercise. So the kidney channel starts at the sole of the feet and brings all that yin energy up from the earth, everything that's coagulating in the earth in winter right now. It brings it up through our inner legs into the kind of the most powerful. The kidneys are one of the most powerful organs in the body because they command our essence, a very vital life force. And so they bring that nutrients up from our connection to the earth. So this is very much about helping the flow of that kidney energy up from the legs. So I'll talk you through the first couple and then we'll just go on our own. But we're just going to bring the arms, circle them out, up, again, kind of like a sun salutation, but here you're going to open palms, soft hands. The fingers almost come together to make a triangle. And then just very, very slowly, you're going to keep head in line with the hands, gazing at the hands. You're going to start to stretch and fold forward, almost like you're rocking your weight into the tip of the toes, keeping the arms extended. And then releasing all the way through the spine. This next part's called washing your roots. So you're sweeping the hands around the feet, the outer feet, and around the soles of the feet, and then you bring the hands to the inner arches. We're almost tracing the kidney channel and letting the strength of the legs float the spine up. So I'm pressing my hands into my legs to create that strength of the legs. The image that always works for me is, it's not literal, but let me finish this and I'm going to give you the image. And then from here, the hands come up to the hips and you're going to stretch back, soft knees. This is not a back bend into bridge. This is just gentle openness. And then from there, press into the heels of the feet, center yourself on the feet, lift the arms, and the cycle will begin again. So look towards the hands, extend through the arms. Slow motion. We're building our chi, massaging our energy body, and then eventually folding. And the image I was going to give you before, wash your roots. It's kind of like if you took an air-filled ball and then you pressed it, submerged it underwater, and then you kind of slowly put your hand on the ball and let that energy of the ball press back up to the surface. That's kind of like what we're doing with the legs. The energy of the legs is pushing the torso up, but we're doing it in a controlled, slow way. And then once you get here, hips go forward, hands reach out, big opening of the spine. Lifting the chest, letting the shoulders fall to either side of the spine. Find your feet, right yourself up, and keep flowing. So that was 2 cycles. We'll do quite a few more. Gazing towards the hands, extending through the arms. You can start to go at your own rhythm. I'm not going to call it out anymore. Washing your roots. And floating from the legs up. Let the pace nurture you. Let the spaciousness of how you're moving allow you to feel all these little micro movements, all these little parts of your body that maybe you don't pay attention to. If you're visually engaged, you can think about, again, bringing that water, earth, yin energy up from the feet, so the soles of the feet. It's kidney one, it's called bubbling spring. We're just letting that bubbling spring of life force rise up the legs and nourish us. So far, everyone's moving really beautifully. The great exercise, again, get into your own rhythm, get over this, any idea of doing it right or wrong. Let your feeling be the guide. And let the pace alone be nourishing. And every cycle doesn't have to be more and more open. You can actually experiment with being kind of less greedy, softer, gentler. More is not necessarily better. Maybe you want to do a couple cycles that's just barely arching back. Wherever you are, we're going to do two more, and then we're going to meet in standing. Now, in standing, we're going to do more of a circular rotation with the upper body. So we're going to move slow, but I'm going to sink into my legs, sink into the hips, start to rotate to the right, almost like I'm doing a twist, looking behind me. Then I let my chest go behind me as left hip goes forward, arching back. It's kind of like a matrix move. And then I let left hip come back, right hip come forward, twist to the right, sink down, round, press out of my legs, left hip goes forward, right comes back, open through that arch. So there's so many permutations here, and then keep cycling back into the twist, round, sinking, You can move slower. You can move a little bit faster. You can also do very minimalist. You can go slow and move wider. It's not about how deep your back bend is. This is more about how connected and smooth, how much this movement is nourishing your capacity for stillness. Finish your next cycle in this direction, come back through center, and then we'll reverse. Letting yourself be driven from the feet and the hips and the spines, just coming along for the ride. Do one more. We should be even. And come back to standing. Just readjust if you need to. The feet are right underneath the hips, so just slightly wider stance than sits bones distance. Find about 40% of the weight in the toes, 60% in the heels. So feeling like you're really standing in your back body, standing in that kidney line. The kidneys are supporting you. The tail, the pelvis can just relax. You're not tucking, but there's just a natural heaviness descending from the pelvis. The knees are soft, the feet, ankles are soft, shoulders are soft. And from that strength of the back body, just start to float the arms up, almost like you're hugging a big sequoia, big tree, big redwood tree. These ancient beams. The elbows are soft, collarbones are soft, neck is long, head is not rocked forward or back, but you're actually allowing the center of your weight to be moved through your spine, down into the heels, and then out through the toes. This form of stillness practice is called branching. And it requires a lot of micro movements. So I'm not moving. I'm not, the more I actually try to stick still with tension, the harder and more exhausting this becomes. The more I allow kind of gentle undulation of the spine, just the way that the breeze is moving things outside, rustling the tree branches. Let yourself be moved. You're not sticking straight. You don't over effort you don't need to protect yourself at this moment from anything. You actually just standing, resting in stillness. I'm aware that the shoulders might be burning. Smiling helps. We won't be here forever. Try to find stillness in this moment. Couple more breaths. Smile. Relax the shoulders on the ribs. Breathe into the whole 360 of the chest, of the waist. Slowly float the hands down. From there, just let the hands keep heavy, sliding down your legs. And then I'll actually have you one more time. Again, just walk yourself, shifting the weight back into that downward facing dog. Take 5 breaths in down dog. And then we'll all meet up in child's pose. Okay, we're gonna do one more hip opener before we come into a more restorative posture. I mean, this next thing is fairly restorative. Um, those of you who, if you're wearing shorts, then you definitely want a blanket, because what we're gonna do is try to basically glide our leg across the floor. So if you're on a rug, and you can see if there's a other type of floor, or if you can have some glide. I'll show you, I can show you with or without a blanket. But basically, I'm gonna lay on the edge of my mat here. Let me make sure you guys can see. Kind of just put half of my body on the mat, half of my body off the mat. And I'm laying on my belly, kind of like in this like frog position, the position that you shouldn't sleep in. And I'll start with my knee up kind of as high as it can go to the elbow. And then I'm letting the knee glide and slide nice and slow all the way back into more of a neutral position. So I'm like lying on my belly. And then slow motion swivel the hip bone in the thigh and bring the knee up towards the armpit, letting the hip descend, knee rise. And then just nice and slow, sliding back, not forcing. Just going slow motion, feeling that swivel of the hip joint. I'm trying to do about 5 cycles per side. And again, I'm sorry if anyone is on total carpeting. Maybe you'll have a little bit more friction, but you can decide whether it's better with your leg on a blanket or just without. You could also just, if there's too much friction, you could also just kind of rest in that frog position just with your leg out for a longer period of time. Once you've done about 5 sides or 5 reps, you can switch to the other side. After your last round, just take a moment on your belly. You can actually stretch your hands out into full prostration or just keep the hands under the forehead. Feel the belly breathe into the floor. So, the more you press the breath down into the belly, you actually inflate the back body. And you can feel that expansion of the back body as you breathe down into the floor. And then we'll roll over, grab our bolsters again. And we're just going to do a supported bridge pose. So slide the bolster, or you could use a block underneath the sacrum. Feet under the knees, arms out to the sides. In the bridge pose. This type of back bend can feel like quite a surrender. Just letting your body be in a pose of openness, of spaciousness, inviting a moment of stillness. One of the Buddhist teachings was our greatest sickness as humans is the way we protect ourselves from being human. We protect ourselves from our inherent tenderness, or overprotect from pain, or have so much fear, we're always in protection mode. Even protect from feeling darkness, which sometimes can be more difficult to digest emotions. But even if the practice is just for a couple minutes in this open position, to not resist, to let go of any protections. Feel the weight in the back of the skull. The lightness of the breath, the ease of the breath. So no need to force the breath. If it's shallow, let it be shallow. Start to rock your legs a little bit side to side. Pick a side you want to roll over onto. Come up just for a moment. So sit up and I'll instruct you in a moment for Shavasana. And I know that sometimes also schedules change, people, I leave you, but I just thank you for joining, and we're gonna still have a sweet Shavasana that I'm gonna teach through, but I usually know after that, usually people are very dazed out, but I do have two things coming up this winter. My wintering retreat, which is gonna be this, and with Sarah Oster and Alex, her husband, which is going to be Sound and Stillness at One Dharma Center, and that's in February. And then in January, if you're interested more in restorative yoga, this is my last restorative yoga training. It's at Skyting, and that's the third weekend of January. So if you're interested, I would love to see you there. And now for more restorative yoga, because that's what we all need through winter. We are going to put our bolster underneath our knees and our blankets for our heads. So if you don't have blocks, you'll do this. If you do have blocks, we're going to do Stonehenge. So blocks on the middle height, bolster on top of blocks like this. This is also a really great kind of like pause before we go into the last pose. Do you need socks? Do you need to get another cover? Do you want to turn the lights down in your space? Do you want to make sure your cell phone's not going to go off? So you can really give yourself, we only have 10 minutes or so, not even, your time in your posture. So knees are right up behind on the bolster. Ankles are floating if you're doing this variation. And then as you roll down, a little bit of the blanket is underneath the top of the shoulders. And then you can kind of scrunch the rest of the blanket underneath your head and give yourself a little bit extra support underneath your head. You should feel like the pelvis is neutral. You can even sway and really set yourself. A lot of times we just think about lying down, not setting ourselves in Shavasana. So place your bones, center your spine, get even in relationship to gravity here. And then maybe if you have the space, you can bring the arms big. Or also, this is a point I'm not showing because I want you to show the pose, but you would cover yourself up with a blanket. And the biggest cue I can give you in restorative practice is to give yourself permission. So, on an energetic, subconscious level, whatever resistance you have to diving into rest or stillness, can you give your inner self permission to not have any agenda, no mental gymnastics, no breath technique, no overachieving of any kind? There's literally nothing to do. And sometimes that is the hardest thing to do. Even just for the next few minutes, can you let the darkest night of the year engulf you? Can we stew in the mystery and the fertility and the magic that is this evening? Begin to deepen your breath. Just feel the body breathing. Stay with the heaviness if that's where you are, and the sensation of stillness. I'm going to read to you the first chapter of the Tao Te Ching. And if you're new to the word, the Tao, you can substitute the either the great spirit or great paradox or the way things are. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The unnameable is the eternally real. Naming is the origin of all particular things. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you only see the manifestations. Yet mystery and manifestations arise from the same source. This source is called darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gateway to all understanding. Begin to bend your knees, place the feet on the floor. Roll to your side, take a couple breaths on your side. Press yourself up to a seated position. There's I think a Buddhist joke this time of year. It says, wishing you nothingness instead of happy holidays, but wishing you a nurturing evening to be bathed in the darkness and a very still, nourishing winter. So thank you so much for joining. I'll be here for a couple questions, but thanks for creating this virtual Sangha. Namaste. I'll keep the room open if anyone wants to chat, but otherwise, good evening and thank you.